Good morning, everyone. Meteorologist Andy Meade coming at you on the last week of December. It is certainly starting to feel kind of like that holiday season. You know, we were hitting the warmest Christmas on record last week, and this time around we're starting to see a little bit of the kind of snow, sleet mix, and even some accumulating snow across West Texas and into portions of New Mexico. So it is a very chilly start. We're going to continue with these chilly conditions as we go on throughout much of the day, but the roads are very wet out there, especially taking a look into near downtown Odessa. We have been getting kind of a mix throughout the last kind of hour or so. Looks like it's mostly been sleet kind of mixed in with a few snow flurries. Here at the station, we are near the Midland International Airport. We've been getting a few sleet pellets as well here. And that's kind of the thing we're going to be watching as we go on throughout much of the day, especially along into portions of the Permian Basin, and especially the further west that you go. A lot of us are just at or below freezing or just slightly above. You know, a lot of us are into those low to near upper 30s across the board. But heading into tonight, we will get back into some cold temperatures, which I think a lot of these roads could potentially be slick in some spots, especially along into those untreated surfaces. And even now, as we are just around freezing into Odessa, around 30 degrees, you know, thankfully we haven't got any major reports of any of the roads being slick just yet, especially if we keep driving over these roads. It kind of helps with that just a little bit. But temperatures are not going to move a whole lot as we go on throughout much of the day. We're generally going to stick around into those 30s to either at or below freezing, into those kind of low to near upper 30s across the board, with a bit of a breeze at times, making those temperatures certainly feel a lot colder than what it is out the door. But we are at 30 though at Midland International. 36 into Andrews, our reading into John, New Mexico, that is out at the moment. We're around 34 degrees in Hobbs. We are below freezing in Carlsbad, where we have been kind of seeing that's where most of the snow has been, accumulating up to near 2 in some areas, maybe even 4 inches of snow already. It's been accumulating quite hefty, with a bit more kind of sleet beginning to form into near areas of the Big Country Contraband, but for the most part they're just going to be just seeing some general showers as we go and throughout much of the day. But kind of where the snowfall has mostly been concentrated at least when it comes to that accumulating snowfall, has really been into near areas of New Mexico so far, where we have been getting a lot of the reports even of some dusting, of where we are starting to see those impacts, at least on the roads and on those grassy surfaces as well. So if you are traveling west as we go throughout much of the day, snow will be accumulating. Those roads could get slick. So you want to give yourself a little bit of extra time if you absolutely have to head into that direction. But with that though, we're still seeing a little bit of those kind of snow flurries here into near the Midland and Odessa region, even a little bit into near Garden City. I think it's more a bit of a sleet pellets there. So feel free to send us what you are sending with pictures on our Facebook, Instagram, or on X, so we can be able to see those reports and be able to send them over to the National Weather Service. But as we go throughout much of the day, we are going to continue with this cold weather, a bit of a light, slow flurries, some mixing with it for some sleet pellets. But further west though, that's where, at least when it comes to the accumulating snowfall, that is where it's going to be. So it's going to be cold as we go throughout much of the day. We have that weather impact alert heading into Tuesday morning for that potentiality for those wet roads to be able to refreeze into the overnight hours. So the snow will be gone by around midnight tonight, but at least heading into tomorrow morning, that's where we're going to have to at least have that extra time walking out the door tomorrow, because I think those roads are certainly good. In some areas could be slick, especially over those bridges and overpasses and those untreated roads. But we'll continue with the heavy snow continuing off into the west. I'll show the snow map in just a bit, but just use caution out there on the roads, and just make sure you give yourself a lot of time if you absolutely have to be out the door today. So to kind of break down the different impacts for our regions, it's the mountain regions where we are at least anticipating most of the accumulating snowfall, between 4 to 6 inches. They are under a blizzard warning, so that means blowing snow is going to be possible. We're talking visibilities upwards of a quarter mile at times, leading to some hazardous travel. So I would pretty much, if you have to travel to the mountains today, I would definitely push it back a couple of days if you have to, because it's not really wise to travel, especially out into the mountains, and even in some portions of New Mexico, especially into areas of Eddy County. That's where that winter storm warning is in effect, where we could see a lot more of that heavy, even wet snow at times, and see a lot more of those kind of slick spots on the roads, as temperatures over there are genuinely already at or below freezing. But throughout much of the Permian Basin, not a lot of us are going to see major widespread impacts. There will be a few slick spots here and there, there, especially where those roads are already wet in areas like downtown Odessa, maybe even along into near I-20, especially kind of into those surfaces where it didn't get treated as well. There could be some slick spots over there, especially where we've been kind of getting a little bit of that rain, a little bit of that sleet kind of mixed in with those snow flurries, especially as we head into the overnight tonight. So to kind of break down what all of the different watches and warnings and everything that we have right now, that blizzard warning is going to remain in effect for the Guadalupe Mountains until about 12 a.m. tonight for those lows of visibilities of below a quarter mile or less. Travel is not going to be recommended. I would advise putting any travel plans to the mountains pretty much for tomorrow or even heading into the next couple of days. I would push it off until then. Again, a general 4 to 6 inches is going to be expected. Wind gusts nearly upwards of 50 miles an hour. For the pink color, that's the winter storm warning. That is for Eddy County. Slick spots are looking to be likely, and we've already seen some reports of some accumulating snow on the road, and with that, some icing could start to be able to accumulate on that. Generally 3 to 5 inches west of the Pecos River, so generally the more west that you go, that's where the highest snow totals are going to be, especially into near areas of Carlsbad, where we have been seeing a lot of that accumulating snow already. But generally 1 to 3 inches east of the Pecos River, so the more east that you go, especially where those winter weather advisories are in effect, that's when, at least when it comes to those accumulation of the snow, that's going to drop significantly. So maybe a general half an inch to maybe 2 inches of snow, and even then I think more of that 2 inches maybe into portions of area of Lee County, maybe even portions of Gaines County, Winkler County, Loving County. But even then, I'm not expecting a lot when it comes to accumulation, but it's going to be more so where we've had a little bit of rain out there this morning, where those roads are already wet. That could definitely lead to some slick spots as we head into the evening hours, as those temperatures get more below freezing, and that's where we could potentially see some of the issues. So when it comes to at least the accumulations, here's kind of the mindset with it. That little white band right there, I'm going between around a trace to 1/2 an inch, isolated totals, maybe upwards of an inch, but I think that's going to be more further west that you go with kind of a snow/sleet mix, alongside a little bit into that purple area between 1 to 3 inches possible, isolated totals upwards of 5 inches. We've already seen that a little bit in some areas of Eddy County, and then general 4 to 6 inches, especially along into the northern portions of the Guadalupe Pass around throughout much of that region. So that, again, this is going to be in effect until about 12 a.m. and that's when, at least when it comes to that snow, sleet, rain, that's when all of that should genuinely be well out of the region. So just to kind of show you one model real quick, it's been relatively okay matching it up, where we're going to kind of get that snow band to be somewhat persistent, and more so into near areas of the Permian Basin like Midland, Odessa. We will have a little bit more of that mix at times, but the further west that you go, that's where we'll see a little bit more of that accumulating snowfall. But we'll continue with this band with on and off snow showers alongside a little bit of a mix at times as we go on throughout much of the afternoon into the early evening hours, and that's when I think we'll maybe be able to see a little bit more in the way of those kind of isolated flurries. Then I think overall, as we head into the later portions of the overnight hours, pretty much around midnight, that's when all of the snow and the precipitation should be generally out of the region. To go ahead and show you just another model generally into the same mindset, we're going to continue with that kind of light mix into the Permian Basin as we go on throughout much of the day, see a little bit more of those chances of some snow flurries by the early afternoon and evening. And during this time, that's when we're going to continue with that accumulating snowfall persistently into near areas of Eddy County, as well Lee County, sneaking into near areas of Winkler and Loving County. We're going to continue with that persistent snow band throughout much of the day that will be able to dissipate by the time we head into the midnight hour. So certainly going to be a very winter-like day across into the Permian Basin, and with that, temperatures, we're not really going to move a whole lot today. We're going to have a lot of clouds into the region that essentially acts like a blanket into the atmosphere. When you would cover up in a blanket, you would like to stay nice and warm. That's pretty much kind of what's happening here, but instead, we're keeping all of that cold air here at home. So generally, a lot of us are going to stick more so into those low to upper 30s as we go throughout much of the day. We'll be around 35 into Midland, 37 off into Odessa. That accumulating snowfall is going to be more so off into the west, with any of those wet roads heading into tonight has the potentiality to refreeze again heading into tomorrow morning for Tuesday morning. I'm going around a low of 29 into Midland, 30 off into Odessa. I think more so into the outskirts of the city of Odessa. We could be well into those upper 20s, low 20s, even some upper teens possible into near areas of southeast New Mexico, especially where we are beginning to get a little bit of a snowpack that will keep temperatures nice and cold and even colder heading into tonight. So generally, most of us will be at or below freezing, with the exception of areas of the Presidio Valley, and most of us should generally stay into those middle to upper 30s and some lower 40s as well. So all of this winter weather is going to be gone as we pretty much head into tonight. We'll keep that weather impact alert heading into tomorrow morning for the potentiality again for those roads to possibly freeze over and create some slick spots as we head into Tuesday morning. And gradual warming is going to be into the forecast as we head in throughout much of the week. We're going to get back into some 70s, even with some gusty winds as we head around into Thursday and Friday. And just take a quick look at the comments. Yes, yeah, we've been getting reports of ice, especially on some of the cars with a little bit of the sleet. I took a look outside not too long ago, and I'm already starting to get a little bit of ice on my car. And where temperatures are already at or below freezing, some slick spots could already begin to start accumulating, especially into near areas of Midland and Odessa. But thankfully, a lot of the roads were already treated. I was driving on Business 20 earlier, and the road looks like it's already been treated, but still in some of those spots where it is untreated, especially where temperatures are at or below freezing, that's where some of those slick spots could begin to accumulate and cause some icy conditions on those roads. But I don't think it's going to be widespread by any means, at least when it comes to at least into near areas of Midland, Odessa. Not every single road is going to be iced over, but I do think, especially a lot of those bridges and overpasses and into those untreated surfaces, especially as we head into tonight, if they're not able to go out and treat those roads again, that's where we could work with some slick spots heading into tomorrow morning. But even then, we're already looking at near 28 degrees into John, New Mexico, where we are starting to see a little bit of accumulating snowfall, especially the further west that you go out into near areas of Carlsbad. But we'll continue with this kind of snow band as we go throughout much of the day. And with that, it's going to be some more of that mixing as well, even with some sleet pellets, which could freeze on contact onto those roads. But we have to stay at freezing for a little bit, though. We need to stay cold for a little bit, and that's why I think heading more into the evening hours tonight, that's when I think that real best opportunity where more of those slick spots will become at least more noticeable out there on the roads, where temperatures will generally stay below freezing and will drop more in temperatures as we go in it throughout much of the night. So for now, at least as we head in throughout the next 7 days, we're genuinely going to be warming back up, though. So if you're not a fan of the snow or the ice, we'll be back into some 70s by the time we head into Thursday and Friday. We'll pick up on some breezier conditions. We're going to keep up with updates as we go in throughout much of the day. So be sure to stay tuned with us here on News West 9 and download our mobile app as well. You can go ahead and scan the QR code on your screen, or go to the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store, where you can download our News West 9 app. We'll be keeping up to date with all of the winter weather coverage as we go in throughout much of the day. So be sure to stay safe on the roads. Take your time, especially if you are traveling west, and have a happy holiday and a happy new year.